So I have made quite a few videos about Littlefinger as of recently, and they've done pretty well. And I've had a fair bit of people ask me, do I hate Littlefinger? Because I've made a lot of videos discussing characters in A Song of Ice and Fire that I hate on a personal level, and it'd be a bit weird of me to not hate Littlefinger while I hate other characters. And to that I say, you are all correct. I kind of want to make this quick video talking about my hatred of the character of Littlefinger and just why I make these I hate videos to begin with. The main purpose of these I hate videos is to draw attention to characters or aspects of specific characters that get overlooked in the community. For example, I don't really think there would be a point in making a why I hate the Mountain video, because it's very apparent why I wouldn't like the Mountain. He rapes, pillages, and burns everything down in sight. It wouldn't really make sense for me to make a why I hate Ramsay Bolton video, because it's very obvious why one would hate Ramsay Bolton. I think George R. R. Martin, in creating many of these characters, he claims that his world is very gray, and it is. All of these characters have a level of grayness to them, but with that being said, there are just some characters that are so wholly bad that making a video on it just seems redundant, because everyone understands why I would hate these characters. So I try to focus on characters who don't get spoken about as much. A great example of this is Tyrion and Robert Baratheon. Coming into the fandom over the last 2 years, I didn't really hear much criticism regarding the way that Tyrion Lannister and Robert Baratheon conduct themselves. So I figured I'd make a video criticizing them and their character to draw more attention to the toxic parts of their person that isn't really ever spoken about. A great example in contrast to this is my video regarding Cersei. I went a little lighter on my why I hate Cersei video than I do a character like Tyrion, because a majority of people already hate Cersei. The die-hard Cersei fans that really stan her are a small part of the A Song of Ice and Fire community, but they're very loud. So with that video, I took a little more of a middle ground approach to try and address both sides, because I think both parts of the argument, because hating Cersei is very reasonable, but so is having sympathy for the character, like all the other characters that I've discussed in my Why Hate series. But the key distinction is, a lot of the other characters have received overwhelming praise and positivity from the fans, so it would feel strange to just pile onto that and not show the opposing side more prominently. But with that being said, it is still valid to criticize or wonder why I don't make videos about the other characters, and I've had a few people question why I haven't made one about Littlefinger, so here it is, the Why I Hate Littlefinger video. And George R. R. Martin is many things in his writing, but he's not always subtle, and I don't think he's trying to be very subtle with the character of Littlefinger and why you should hate this character and root against him. Littlefinger is a monster. As far as tangible damage done to the A Song of Ice and Fire universe, Littlefinger is high up there on the ladder. This guy starts the War of the Five Kings, manipulates everything from the shadows, bankrupts the realm, grooms and sexually assaults Sansa, betrays some of our main characters frequently, murders people in cold blood both directly and indirectly, and a lot of the suffering that we just see on a daily basis that most of the characters are going through in the main series almost always ties back to something Littlefinger did, because he's an envious little bastard. But with that being said, everyone knows this. It is not a hot take to say Littlefinger is one of the worst characters in A Song of Ice and Fire. So what I feel is far more interesting is to discuss how this monster was created, because like many other characters in A Song of Ice and Fire, Littlefinger's monstrous side and monstrous being was not just born randomly. It was something that was curated over a long period of time. And when you look back at the character of Littlefinger and his journey, you find out that he actually had a wholesome upbringing. Littlefinger comes from not nothing, but practically nothing in the noble world. He's born too high to be someone common, but born too low to be a true noble. And this leaves him in this really weird middle ground where he's always striving to be something more than he is, while also always being told that he can never climb higher than his current standing in the world. And from a young age, he is tormented by people that are his friends. Edmure Tully giving him the nickname Littlefinger, while it may come off like just children being children, is super cruel. It's Edmure telling him that you are little compared to me, that you are nothing, that you will never be anything more than the little pinky finger on the gigantic body that is Westeros. And that is something that really gets to him. But when Littlefinger is a child, he is much like Sansa, and not enough people talk about this. Littlefinger is very similar to Sansa in where he has dreams of being more, and he believes in the stories that he has been told his entire life. As young men in Westeros and in the real world, we are told stories about knights and gallantry, and how if you really believe in what you believe in, you will overcome odds. You will be David versus Goliath. That if you truly love someone or something and fight for it with your entire being, you will be given the win. You will end up victorious. But Littlefinger comes to the very difficult realization that that is not how the real world works. And that's what occurs with Brandon Stark and Catelyn Tully. Littlefinger challenges Brandon to a trial by combat, a duel, a fight to the death for the love of his life's hand in marriage. And Littlefinger, much like Sansa, believes that since he is the one who truly loves her, while Brandon Stark is just a playboy who is infatuated with her at this moment, that he will be victorious. He will be David beating Goliath. But Brandon slices him in half and nearly kills him, and then he's just pitied by everyone else around him. And on top of that, this is a character who has a long history of being embarrassed by the people around him. Very frequently he is embarrassed at court because people don't take him seriously because of who he is, and view him as this kind of just speck that is hanging around with Lysa and Catelyn and has a crush on them, and no one takes the dude seriously. Not only that, but Littlefinger is sexually assaulted by Lysa Arryn. And these are all things that occur, but I never really see anyone talking about, because the monster that Littlefinger becomes is just so much more attention-grabbing than his upbringing. So when I was making these videos showing sympathy towards Littlefinger, I was just recognizing that where he comes from is sympathetic, that he has a sympathetic and a tragic backstory to the villain that we see. And that is the character of Littlefinger. He's a supervillain, a mastermind who you can understand on a personal level when you realize where he comes from. But that doesn't take away from the fact that in order to properly digest A Song of Ice and Fire and just, in my opinion, be a fully functioning human being, you need to hate him, because regardless of what Littlefinger has been through, no matter how much abuse he faced as a child, you get to a certain point in your adult life, in both A Song of Ice and Fire and specifically in the real world, where you have to overcome and be better than the worst things that have happened to you. I personally believe that sure, everyone goes through things, everyone has difficulties, everyone's faced tragedy in your life, but it is your duty as a human being to overcome that for yourself and for the people around you. And the reason that I hate the character of Littlefinger is he never does that. In understanding that he wasn't David who beat Goliath, he gives up on the dream of being David and just decides, I'm going to tear the world apart because it's not a world that I can currently fit into. Littlefinger makes the conscious decision to stop trying to be a better man and instead closes in on himself and starts scheming and manipulating and murdering and doing all of these disastrous things behind the scenes. That way he can get back at the people who wronged him. It is this vile and disgusting mentality of someone who gets stuck in this very childlike mentality and then does everything he possibly can to put his suffering that he experienced as a child onto the rest of the world for his entire life. And that is vile and gross and just something that I can never stand for. So when asked the question, do I hate Littlefinger? Most definitely. I feel that if you don't hate Littlefinger by default, there is something just morally weird about you as a person. Which is why I didn't think I needed to make this video, because of course I hate Littlefinger. It's just far more interesting to discuss the sympathetic aspects of his character, because do I really need to criticize the things that he does? It's inherent. He is obviously a bad person. But with that being said, if you have any other video ideas regarding characters that I hate, characters that I love, or just things you want to see from this channel, please let me know in the comment section down below, and I will get to them in due time. I promise. With all that being said, if you've made it to the end of this video, thank you so much for watching, and I hope to catch you in the next one. Peace.